everyone, my name is Tasha and today I am bringing you a review of Underwater by Marisa Reichhardt. This book is making the video very yellow. I requested this book from MyKindaBook / Pan Macmillan UK, so thank you to the publisher for sending me this ARC copy. Obviously this isn't a final cover. The final cover of this book, at least of the UK version of this book, looks like this. It's very beautiful. I love it so much. Underwater is a YA book following a girl suffering from PTSD. I hadn't read anything about that topic, which is why I was interested in this book. So in this book we follow Morgan. She is a survivor of a school shooting, and ever since that shooting she has been very paranoid and has been afraid to leave her house, which is why she just doesn't leave her house anymore. She attends high school online. Her therapist visits her at home, and this book starts off, I believe it was 5 months after the school shooting, and of course a boy moves in next door and things change. And when that happened, I was afraid that it was going to be one of those books where her healing and everything focuses on the boy and the romance and the relationship, but it didn't, and I was so happy. So as I said, Morgan suffers from PTSD. She doesn't leave her house. This book follows her healing process and how she deals with things and tries to move on. Even though the story isn't anything new or profound or whatever, I still think this was such an amazing book and so well done with this topic. I mean, like I said, I haven't read much about this topic and things, but I've read other books that deal with like mental health and stuff, and I've heard a lot of bad things on how mental health is dealt with in YA books, and I think it was dealt with really well in Underwater. One thing that positively stood out to me is the relationship between Morgan and her therapist Brenda. What I've seen a lot in YA is that therapists are very demonized. They're often portrayed as the bad guy, and that wasn't the case in Underwater. Morgan was really grateful for her therapist's help, and she always listened to her and actually worked together with her and called her when she needed help. I just loved their relationship with each other. I think it was done so well. I know I've said that like a million times, but that's how I feel about this book. So that's one dynamic I really enjoyed in this book, and the other one is the family dynamic between Morgan, her mother, and her younger brother. Morgan's mother plays a really important part in Morgan's life. I really enjoyed how big of a part Morgan's mother actually played in this book. Morgan talked to her mother about problems, and they also worked together to try and help Morgan get better with her PTSD and her fears. And Morgan's mother actually stood by Morgan's side, and it was just so beautiful, and I loved it. I also really liked Morgan's relationship with her brother, her younger brother. I think he was about 5. It was just so cute the way she cared for him and took care of him. So different from what I've read in YA surrounding mental health topics and just family dynamics. It was so nice. So as I've mentioned about the love interest, I was afraid that the focus would be on him and the romance and not on Morgan's healing process, but that wasn't the case, and I was so glad for that. So the love interest Evan, he moves in next door, and him and Morgan start to get to know each other. Quite early on he learns about her PTSD. There were some things that he did that I wasn't okay with. Morgan would get these panic attacks and sometimes shut everyone out. She would need her own space, which is understandable. When this happened one time and Evan was like knocking on the door and Morgan didn't open the door, and a few days passed, the way he talked to her after that, I was like, no way, that was not okay. I did understand where he was coming from. He had his own problems to deal with, and obviously Morgan isn't the only person dealing with the aftermath of the school shooting. Despite that, I still didn't like the way he handled that situation. That was one thing I didn't like. I think it was so beautiful how Morgan dealt with her problem, or a lot of her problems, by herself and made a lot of healing progress by herself. obviously with some help of her therapist. Evan obviously also supported her, but he wasn't like the focus of her healing process. She did a lot on her own. Oh my god, it was so amazing. I just really loved these characters. They felt like real teenagers to me, like Morgan and Evan. There were minor things, but they make such a difference in my opinion. Obviously because Morgan spends a lot of time, all of her time at home and doesn't move a lot or do any sports. She gains a little bit of weight, which is normal. And then it's also mentioned at some point that Evan has pimples, which is also something that isn't mentioned a lot in YA, but I think that's really important. They're quite minor things, but they make such a difference in my opinion. I rated this book 4 stars. I would definitely recommend this if you're a YA fan and like this type of genre about like mental health. If that's something you're mildly interested in, I definitely recommend this book. It's quite short, it's under 300 pages, and I read it in like 2 days, I think it was 2 days. I'm pretty sure this book is already out in the US. It has a different cover, but it comes out in the UK on April 7th. Again, thank you to MyKindaBook for sending me this and giving me the opportunity to review this book. I hope you enjoyed watching this review. Tell me down below if you may have already read this book or if you're now interested in reading this book. I would love to know. And that was it for this video, and I will see you next time. Bye! Today I am bringing you a book review. Okay, it's not the book that's making this video yellow, it's weird lighting from outside. I feel like I'm constantly saying Morgan.